actually, I have it on the outside side. I don't know what I did. I hurt this section of my hip. And it really hurts. And it's not a pain I'm used to. Because, you get used to your pains and you can deal with your pains. A new pain, your body's like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Especially as we get older.
Yeah. Well, Abba does very interesting things with us because he'll be enduring some sort of pain that I won't be associated with. And then all of a sudden his pain will be gone. And like a week later, I'll have a very similar pain. So it's almost like God's like, see, this is what they were going through.
Well,
and
she's been dealing with it.
I've been dealing with hip pain for
And I've never had that
like
pain.
the last 9 months, and now
All of a sudden, it started Thursday. I was like, that's kind of odd. Woke up yesterday morning and I'm like, still a little bit tender. By the time I got done working yesterday, I could barely walk. It was painful.
I could saw a lot of based on injury I had here when I was 18.
oh gosh.
Well, see, there's your problem. Any sport that requires you to plummet along on 2 sticks of wood.
Oh, and on 1 foot, or on 1 stick, and went over the way that they
Oh.
wrong.
I take
Here.
great pleasure in the fact that I'm not the only one making poor decisions.
All right, gentlemen.
Oh, crazy stuff.
Are you ready?
I'm in.
Assembly
Israel.
That was very nice. Well, Shabbat Shalom. We will leave the announcements for after worship today. So if I could have you stand, please, for the opening of the ark. Do I have an ark opener?
Get it.
Yep.
Get it, boy. Get the ark open.
Yeah, Mimi's coming. Are you
Oh,
gonna?
Mimi? You gonna do it, Mimi? How about both of you?
Somebody please open the ark. Oh, my goodness gracious.
Well, Mimi doesn't necessarily know what it is that we want. In that way, she's almost like the dog. She knows she hears her name, but then it's like, whoa, 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 Mimi.
She gets Mimi nowhere. All right, I'm Kimoko, page 64 of Lucidors, or of course the screen to my right and your left. There is none like you among the Elohim, Yahweh, and there is nothing like your works. Your kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and your dominion is throughout all generations. Yahweh reigns. Yahweh has reigned. Yahweh will reign forever and ever. Yahweh will give strength unto his people. Yahweh will bless his people with peace. If you please join me in prayer. Father, as this blessing states, you will bless us with peace. And on this gift of your Shabbat, I ask that we are able to be fully inundated with the peace that only comes from you. As we enter this time of preparation for the High Holy Days, for Yom Teruah, allow our hearts to hear the sound of your trumpet. This month of Elul, Father, where we are preparing our minds and our hearts to make things right with others around us, so that we can come before you with more receptive hearts, so that you are able to forgive us as we have forgiven others. Father, as we worship today, allow it to be a spirit of community, a spirit of unity, and complete and utter adoration for you, our Creator. That the teaching today be your words, that your servant say the things that you would have him say, and that our hearts and our ears would be ready to receive, to truly shema, to hear, to internalize, and to obey, so that we can be better reflections of your light unto the nations. Amen. All right, if you've not yet done so, please remember to silence your cell phones.
Right, You know, I'm going to have to call my support group. Call my sponsor. I ain't more of them. One on a Reese's bender.
We can share the meat.
Do we want to turn one of the lights on, or we're good?
I don't know which one to turn on, but we can.
Is it too dark?
Yeah, but that's why it's different. We got the spotlight over there.
Okay, we'll turn on lights and we'll say hello.
That's good. I think,
That
right?
would be good. That's fine. There are various.
You can see me now.
All I can say is, thank goodness this wall's gone.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I noticed when I walked in.
Arise and shine. Arise and shine. Arise and shine, for thy light is come. The glory of the Lord is seen upon thee. And the nations shall come unto thy light, and kings to the brightness of thy rising. Lift up thine eyes round about and see, they gather themselves all together. So arise and shine, for thy light is come. Arise and shine, for thy light is come. Arise and shine, for thy light is come. The glory of the Lord is seen upon thee. The glory of the Lord is seen upon thee. And the sons of those who afflicted thee, and all who have despised you will bow down. Then they shall call you the city of the Lord, Zion of the Holy One Israel. So arise and shine, for thy light is come. Arise and shine, for thy light is come. Arise and shine, for thy light is come. The glory of the Lord is seen upon thee. The glory of the Lord is seen upon thee. So arise and shine, for thy light is come. Arise and shine, for thy light is come. Arise and shine, for thy light is come. The glory of the Lord is seen upon thee. Oh, arise and shine, for thy light is come. Arise and shine, for thy light is come. Arise and shine, for thy light is come. The glory of the Lord is seen upon thee. The glory of the Lord is seen upon thee. The glory of the Lord is seen upon thee. You are worthy, you alone. Oh Lord, we adore you, we bow down before you. Your majesty fills all the give you all honor and praise. For you are worthy, you alone. Hallelujah. You are worthy, you alone. Hallelujah. Oh God, we exalt you, we lift up before you the name of Messiah, King. Mashiach, Yeshua, Tzur, Yeshua, take you to you. All our praises we bring. For you are worthy, you alone. Hallelujah. You are worthy, you alone. Hallelujah. For you are worthy, you alone. Hallelujah. You are worthy, you alone. Hallelujah.
Yeah, let's try to sit back on
As we gather in your presence, God, we shall not be moved. He is my defense. I shall not be moved. He is my defense. I shall not be moved. He is my defense. I shall not be moved. My Messiah only, He only is my rock and the horn of my salvation. Yes, my Yeshua only, He only is my rock and the horn of my salvation. He is my defense. I shall not be moved. He is my defense. I shall not be moved. He is my defense. I shall not be moved. He is my defense. I shall not be moved. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto, Leolam, Leolam Vaed. The splendor of the King, clothed in majesty, let all the earth rejoice, all the earth rejoice. He wrapped himself in light, and darkness tries to hide. It trembles at his voice, trembles at his voice. How
spirit animal.
Oh! That's all I need to hear, baby!
Do you want honey badger or do you want
I'm thinking honey.
We actually need honey badger leashed a little bit.
Aw!
I'll be a good
Let me out of my cage! I'm not at the bars of my enclosure!
Wrapped my lesson, and literally in the hour and a half before I shaved to get ready, I wrote an entirely new lesson. Okay? I've been fighting mad for a week, and I've been doing everything I can to get over it, get past it, it'll be okay. And today, it was just like God finally just knocked me alongside the head and said, hey, idiot, while I need you to temper it a bit, I kind of want you to talk about this. And I was like, okay. To which my wife almost immediately started saying, honey, you need to be good. To which I said, well, thank God you're going to be there to temper me back. And she goes, I'm teaching the kids. And I went, Ari, Marlene, spirit animal.
Yeah. We'll just go outside of the camera. I can throw these too.
The reality is, I'm going to need you all to like strap in because today is an 8-page lesson. 8 pages in an hour and a half of writing, and you know how I do. But it is something that needs to be addressed because it keeps coming up.
Where am I?
You are in my heart.
Aww. Like in your Harper?
Yes.
Alright. Oh my goodness gracious. I haven't seen my nieces and nephew for too long.
All right. Uncle Norman. All right. Again, of course, I'm here. I don't have my phone, so I'll need your help again. I believe it's the 21st, the Sunday right before Yom Kippur. Is that correct? I'm not seeing anybody checking their phones. September 21st, is that the Sunday before Yom Kippur?
Yeah.
Okay, so that is the mikveh at Lake Hernando. And of course, I'm horrible. I forgot to print out my little sign that I made. I completely forgot because I was going to just have you guys have an address, I believe, so that you had it handy. So we will be aiming to start at 8 o'clock.
Go that way till you see water. That is the water.
Unless it's the Gulf. Unless it's the Gulf, then you've gone too far.
No. The Gulf is that way. That way. I love you. The Gulf that way.
Eventually, they're going to hit other bodies of water.
Yes, it's called Miami. No.
Miami's south. What are you talking about? I'm not that bad.
That is south.
Okay, well, that's further south.
Well, they'll get there eventually.
All right, yeah, it's on Orange Avenue, I believe. And there is a fire department right next to the lake.
So if any of you plan on doing any cooking, you're covered.
If the lake water, it wasn't enough.
If you do wish to have like a little cookout or picnic afterwards, you're more than welcome to. I will have food there. You know, I do it up really, I try to do it up really nice. Norman makes like tons of coffee. He's up early making tons of coffee at French press, so you guys have really good coffee. And then there would be a variety of juices and the bagels and all the toppings and the turkey sausage gravy and the biscuits, so there will be plenty to nosh. And then of course you will have the laminated prayers that you can take in the water. We go in with you. If you've never had a mikveh, it's a great time to do it. A mikveh is very common. It's not what you call a Christian baptism. A mikveh can be done at any time. It was traditionally done, and it is still done, in conservative and traditional circles after a woman's time of nida.
Now, it can also perform the function of a baptism if you need that as well. But this isn't a situation of I've already been baptized, I can't do that. A mikveh can be redone. It is a renewal. It is a washing away of the old, the unclean, and rising up.
The barbs of the enemy get thrown away.
No, it's just, when you said that, I thought, well, there have been occasions.
I was literally mid-sentence.
But that means you guys agree. Agreement. This is what agreement.
His mikveh is going to be held down a little further. Are there still bubbles? Keep them there.
That's the asphyxiation of the Lord.
wrestling in the spirit. Oh my gosh, Daniel, no. Anyway, yes, as you so eloquently said. Yes, as the rabbi was saying, I'm so irreverent, I'm so sorry. No, I'm not, I won't change. I'm not gonna change, I'm not gonna apologize because I'm not gonna change, most likely. There's no true repentance on that one. Yes, yes. It's you can, the way I look at Alex and go, how did I not birth you? You can look at me and go, how did I not birth her? I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, Rivka, honey, but there it is.
With Hoover and Driver.
Yes. Can't get much more German than that. All Ashkenazi there. Okay, so, in all seriousness note, in preparation for the mikveh, it can be done after time of divorce. It can be time after it can be done after a time of loss, if you've lost a loved one, especially a partner. It is that time of just kind of letting go, letting all those ripples float away from you. And then, you know, that covering of the Father and the atonement there. So it's a beautiful symbol. It has a lot of meaning to it, and it can be multi-layered. So, you know, a mikveh can absolutely be done if you recently accepted Yeshua as your salvation, as your Messiah. It is a wonderful time to do it, you know, to just have that physical manifestation of that renewal. So I hope that you are able to join us for that. And Bradley, it's 7 o'clock for you.
For me?
For you, it's 7 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock for everybody else. Do also, before I forget, please make sure to keep Tiana in prayer. She's been having some life challenges in general, nothing world-ending, but just please keep her in prayer. And this morning she had a sore throat, and her boss, apparently strep has been going through his entire family, so she was concerned that she caught that bug. So just keep her in prayer, please. I've already asked her if there's anything she needed, because at the very least, we can have something delivered to her. But she says she's okay at the moment, but check in on her every once in a while, make sure she's doing okay for me. I'll be doing the same, just to make sure she has everything she needs. All right, are there any other announcements that I'm unaware of that I need to share with the group? All right, looks like we're all good then. Do we have any updates on Miss Paul?
She is still in rehab.
Okay,
Yeah, she gets out Tuesday.
okay, all right.
Man, I remember being in rehab.
Oh, your rehab and her rehab are different things.
Oh, we think.
Tomato, potato.
No.
And is she in need of anything? I just want to make sure that.
Maybe a visit, if anybody, and she said Bridgewater.
She likes company.
Okay.
Where is she?
Yeah, she's at Bridgewater, and I think it's Bridgewater.
Okay, Bridgewater, is that what you said?
Bridgewater?
Bridge or
Yeah, Bridge.
bridge? Okay.
It's
So like a bridge going over.
Yeah,
Bridgewater.
between
Okay.
all these and then on top of the world.
Okay, all right.
So we're next to the world.
Not really on
We're
top.
not really on top of the world. We are next to the world.
Mid-world.
Close to said world.
Midgard.
Mid-guard.
Okay.
All right, so I think that will do it for announcements, and then if you can please stand with me for the Shema. If you prefer to aim that way, you certainly can, since we've kind of switched everything around.
Yes, east is technically that way.
Shema Yisrael, Yahovah Eloheinu, Yahovah Echad, Baruch Shem Kero, Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed.
ואהבת את יהוה אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי נושאך היום על לבבך ושמתם לבדיך ודיר בטבן בשפתך, בביתך, ובלתך, בדלת, ובשקפך, ובקומך, ובשעתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, ובטבתם המחוזות ביתך, ובשעריך. Hear, Israel, Yahweh is Elohim, Yahweh is one. Blessed is the name of his glorious kingdom for all eternity. And you shall love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And have these words which I command you this day be upon your heart, and you shall teach them diligently to your children, and speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you retire, and when you arise. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and let them be frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them on the doorposts of your house, and upon your gates. And you shall love me as yourself.
Oh, me. Thank you so much. You may be seated. There she goes. She's already doing the Shema. All right. I'll turn this over to Rabbi Norm.
All right. Shabbat Shalom. Am I being heard?
What?
Yes.
All right. Shabbat Shalom.
Get this party started.
Over the last couple weeks, actually, last couple months, last couple years, heck, I've been doing this for 20 years. A number of people, both inside and outside the synagogue, have asked me the question regarding Gentiles, the Goyim, and specifically their obedience to Torah. We used to have a sign at our old synagogue when we actually had our own building that said, "One Messiah, one law." And you would be amazed how many people hate us for that. You really would. It always seemed easy to me. But believe it or not, there are groups that don't think that the Mashiach, there are groups in the Messianic movement that don't think that the Gentiles need to or should keep Torah. I've addressed this a number of times, but today I'm specifically going to address it. You may interact with other people that have unkind things to say about me and my teaching. As far as me, I don't care. In the great words of Marshall Mathers, I am whatever you say I am. If I weren't, then why would I say I am? The reality is this. They can insult me, and I give them plenty of reason to. You never know what I'm going to say. I never know what I'm going to say. I can be very irreverent. I am not the teacher for everybody. I'm fully willing to accept that and own it. But all of my teaching, I have put a tremendous amount of effort into removing as much of me and my ego and my personality from it to provide the truth. There is a problem with the Messianic movement, and that is an inconsistency. We once had a young lady who found a young man from, I don't know, Tennessee, Georgia, I forget where he was from, but he came down and he met us, and we got along, and about the third time he came down, he was very uncomfortable. And I thought, that's odd. Normally I put people off in the first 5 minutes. And he goes, there's somebody from my church, and he found out that I was dating a girl that was Messianic, and he really freaked out and started telling me to get away from all you guys, that you're crazy and you're a cult. But I've interacted with you, and I don't see any of that, and it's really affecting my friendship with them. I can't be friends with them when he's telling lies. And I said, first of all, you don't know that he's lying. And he looked at me, what? And I said, understand, this ain't like Catholicism or baptism, where there's a manual and they have to meet a certain criteria. The Messianic movement's all over the map. I said, you met us, and we're semi-rational people. That doesn't mean that your friends, that his experience with the Messianic movement was not cheese off the cracker crazy. On the one end, we have Messianic groups completely divorcing themselves from Judaism. I once had a guy almost spit at me. Why do you have to mention Judaism with Messiah? I'm like, because the man was a Jew? Not this sharp as tack, but at least I can puncture paper. On the other end, we have almost ultra-Orthodox Messianics, who want nothing to do with Gentiles. It gets crazy. First of all, allow me to say this. Everything I'm saying today is in love and respect. I really tried to tone it down and really tried to focus. But here's the thing. First, we'll start with the Jewish side. On the Jewish side, it's tough when you're interacting with a conservative Orthodox Jew. Reform, not so much. I mean, they don't know anything anyway. Anything you tell them, they're going to believe because they still don't know what a mezuzah is. But conservative and Orthodox Jews, you're discussing with them about the validity of Mashiach, and the first thing that happens is they go, "You believe in the Messiah? You're a Christian!" So it's getting over that hump. No, I'm a Torah observant, and just getting that. So you're already there. And the problem is, the minute they hear Messianic, the minute you walk out the door, or sometimes while you're still talking, they Google the word Messianic, and dear God above, you don't know what they've just seen. There are Messianic groups that are like, "We have built ourselves a temple, and we've started temple worship, and we've started sacrifices right here in Oklahoma." What? Do you think I'm kidding? We've changed the entire calendar. You tell them when Passover is, "Has the barley of Eve?" I follow the Karaites. Rosh Kadesh ain't then. Some of these groups are almost completely divorced from Judaism. And when I say Judaism, I do mean understand that a certain level of education in the traditions and teachings of the Jewish faith, I think, is very, very advantageous in understanding how we got here and how these scriptures, that contrary to popular myth and opinion, were written in Hebrew and Aramaic predominantly, with a smattering of Greek. Don't get me started. But I think that that cultural understanding of this work is very, very important. And when you lack that entirely, you can be all over the place. And unfortunately, it can, on the Jewish side, become very, very difficult. And this has caused many on the more Jewish side to say, Gentiles in the back of the bus. I don't mind that you're here. I'm glad that you want to kind of get in touch with the Jewish roots of your faith. I mean, that's all great. But the adults are talking. Please be quiet. Now, I'm sure that they would say, that's not it at all. Come on, let's be honest. We've all been embarrassed by that side of the room. We've all had to answer for that side of the room when a conservative Jew goes, "What about this guy? He claims to have your faith, and you go, I don't claim him. I don't even wear that kind of lipstick."
It's not my shade.
Not my shade. So please understand that I get it. In trying to establish some criteria for not just our conduct, but for our very understanding, I get it. I know where you place the bar. You trust the people in your camp. You trust that everybody else of the tribe of Judah, represent everybody else in the tribe of Judah, at least meets a certain criteria and level of education. And you can be fairly certain that they're not pulling some weirdness out of the lunar calendar. I understand. But then you go so far as to say that they can't even keep Torah. Shouldn't even. And we're going to cover this. And that's where you're wrong. On the other side, most of the time, it is Gentiles in these communities that attack me the hardest. It's the Gentiles. They come at me the hardest. And the only thing I have to say to that is, I get it. You want to have your cake and eat it too. You want to be able to put on your tallit like your little set of Mickey Mouse ears. You want to feel like you get to be part of the Jew crowd and then go get pepperoni on your pizza. I understand. You want to do as little as possible to honor God while still getting to say, I go to a synagogue. I understand. The Torah is a big, scary thing. When the man up front tells you you don't have to keep it, but you still get to come to the synagogue and write that tithe check, that seems to be the perfect answer for you. I get a little smattering of Judaism, but it doesn't require much of me. Those are the people that actually attack me the most. The people that want to have their cake and eat it too. They're the ones that don't want to come under the entire covering of the Torah. They don't want to submit themselves to all that. But they still want to be able to say that they're on the Jew bus. They're happy in the back of the Jew bus. They're the ones that attack me the hardest. To which I normally say, hey, you can be lazy. Fine. You know what? Sometimes I like to phone it in on important things. You know how many times I just stop looking at the road while I'm driving? How inconvenient. Jesus, take the wheel. So today's lesson is all about the Torah. I'm speaking to those on the more Orthodox side. I'm speaking to those on the God, where did you come up with that one side. I'm speaking to the Gentiles. I mean, sometimes I feel like the lyrics of that old song. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. We're going to take a look at this, honestly, because I know that I've kind of skirted around it. I've said some things, I've taught some things and everything else. We're not going to get into the whole Lost 10 Tribes part today. We're just going to leave that entire argument, and trust me, it is one. We're going to leave that entire argument off. We're going to assume that if you were not circumcised on the 8th day, you're a Gentile. And we're just going to run with that. Okay? First thing we're going to do is we are going to read some of God's laws. Because here's the important thing about God's law. Once you read it, you have to ask yourself the honest question of, would God ever want me to not keep that? Now, we're not going to go through the entire Torah. We can't. But these are legitimate questions. If you are not a Torah keeper, when I read these laws, I want you to think to yourself, would I be a better me if I kept that law, or would I be a better me if I didn't? And if you are one of the teachers telling the Goyim, they don't need to do this, you need to ask yourself, would they be a better believer if they kept this law, or a better believer if they didn't? Would the world be a better place if everyone ignored these laws? I'm going to try to go through them quickly. I'm going to try to keep from going too deep into them, just to give you a spicing. And I want you all to be just dead honest with yourself about these laws. Would the world be a better place if we did it? And if it would be a better place, then by God, why aren't we all doing it? And if the world would be a better place if we didn't do it, well then why the hell do we read this book anyway? Alright, first one. Deuteronomy 22:1. You are not to watch your brother's ox or sheep straying and behave as if you hadn't seen it. I get it. Life's busy. And other people's needs are a big, just inconvenience. But that's really what this comes down to. You are not to watch your brother's ox or sheep straying and behave as if you hadn't seen it. You must bring it back to your brother. If your brother's not close by, or you don't know who the owner is, you are to bring it to your house, and it will remain with you until your brother asks for it. Then you are to give it back to him. You are to do the same with his donkey, his coat, or anything else of your brother's that he loses. If you find something he lost, you must not ignore it. This gets to the very heart of our communal obligation to each other. Judaism is a communal religion. The Torah is a constitution of a nation. It is the guidelines by which a community interacts with its members. This is foundational, because if we could all rely on everybody in the community to work together to safeguard each other, we would all be in a better place. This is one of the foundational rules of respect and looking out for. If my donkey or my sheep is straying, I know that my brother's got my back and he knows I have his. Deuteronomy 22:4. If you see your brother's donkey or ox collapsed on the road, you may not behave as if you hadn't seen it. You must help him get it up on its feet. Again, if you see someone in distress, you okay? Your blood sugar doing all right there, buddy? We got cookies? Okay. If you see someone in distress, you cannot ignore that distress. Because sometimes we all get a flat tire. Sometimes we all are in need, and God requires us all to look out for each other. You may not act as if you hadn't seen it. When someone reaches out their hand in need, we all should be not just willing, but able to reach down and help. To get everybody firing, walking, we should all do that. But our obligation isn't just to a friend or a stranger. This is where it gets difficult. Exodus 23:5. If you see the donkey which belongs to someone who hates you, lying down, helpless under its load, you are not allowed to pass them by. It's easy to help out your buddy or a friend. And you notice the way this is written. I always tell my students, be precise. This isn't someone you hate. This is someone who hates you. Have you ever had someone that hated you and you didn't know why? They're the last. If you hate someone, you can overcome your hate to help them. But when they hate you, that's tough. We are obligated to help even that person. That is the level of responsibility we as a community should have for each other. These 3 laws. Ask yourself, a person that followed those laws, would they be considered righteous? Would they be a neighbor you'd want to have? Would that be the kind of person you would like to be? Then why the hell would God say, yeah, you Gentiles don't need to do that?
Doesn't make sense.
Makes no sense. The only reason to do away with a law or say someone doesn't need to do it is, A, they're just not good enough. You're going to sully my law. Or the law itself is in some way flawed. Here's one. Deuteronomy 22:5. A woman is not to wear men's clothing, and a man is not to put on a woman's clothing. For whoever does these things is detestable to Yahweh your Elohim. There's been confusion regarding this law. Some people think it means that women can't wear slacks and men can't wear a kilt. But the reality is, wear is haya, and it means to exist or become. Clothing, keli, means something, specifically an apparatus, a utensil, clothing, bag. This does not refer to a woman wearing slacks that are obviously women's slacks. It has nothing to do with a man wearing a kilt, which is obviously not a woman's dress. This refers to becoming or existing as something specifically the opposite gender. You remember last week, a couple weeks ago, I told you about that couple that was very confused. And he goes, so we're not sinning. And I said, I told you, you weren't a homosexual couple. But this is that other law. This is a man dressing and acting and living as a woman, or a woman dressing or acting as a man. Remember that in the more hedonistic nations, there were court transvestites. This was always a problem. This has been a problem that was always associated with the more hedonistic societies that we were supposed to be separated from. Yes?
I just want to point out too, like when Moses and the Hebrews were wandering in the desert, the men weren't wearing trousers.
No, they weren't.
They
They weren't.
You're wearing robes.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
They were wearing men garb, but yeah, I mean, the reason that the Torah is written that we were supposed to put tzitziot at the 4 corners of our garments, it wasn't that they had tallits back then. Your garment literally was a large robe with a sash, and it had 4 corners. The entire reason this exists is because fashion changed, so we no longer had 4 corners to put our tzitziot on, so the rabbi said, well, I got this, let's make a talit to have. Now, this is the talit gadol, the great talit. In normal operation, or if we ever meet at night, you'll notice I don't wear my talit gadol, I wear my talit katan, the smaller talit. Okay, there's a whole bunch of rabbinic reasons for that I'm not going to get into. Just trust me, they're there. But this actually had to do with what we would consider to be a transvestite. Now, here's the funny thing. I am old enough to remember when this law wasn't really considered all that important, and it was spoken of almost jokingly. I remember years teaching this where everybody kind of giggled a little bit and talked about the old man down in Homosassa that used to put on women's panties and drive his truck through the Hardee's drive-thru. True story. Thanks, Bob. I can't unremember this.
I can't either.
But in the last few years, this has really come to the forefront. This has really become a thing. I've lived long enough to be able to see a law that was handled jokingly come to the forefront and has become one of the most important arguments of our day. Here's another one. When you build a new house, you must build a low wall around your roof. Otherwise, someone may fall from it. You will be responsible for his death. This is where you get the whole, you made a balcony, you must put a railing so people don't fall to their death. This is common sense stuff. This has nothing to do with being holy and approaching God. This has nothing to do with God going, I'm here to tell you, brother, you build better railings than anybody. Okay? Building the railing is not your sacrifice. This law has entirely to do with safeguarding the people that come to your property. Would you be a better person if you didn't do this? Could you even pass the home inspection if you didn't do this? If you were on the uber Jewish side and you have a Gentile person in your congregation and you told them that they don't need to keep the Torah, in fact they shouldn't, would you feel safe walking around on their balcony, knowing that by your teaching they don't have a railing? Or would you be like, kids, back up, don't get, oh God, there goes the dog. It's okay, Skippy, call the vet. I think we can all agree, railings make the world a better place. Okay. The other thing is, if you didn't know that the law contained all of this, congratulations. You might want to read it. Deuteronomy 23:12. You are to have an area outside the camp to use as a latrine. You must include a trowel with your equipment, and when you relieve yourself, you are to dig a hole first, and afterwards cover your excrement. Anyone who's ever been camping understands this. There's a rule. 10 yards for every hot dog. You had 4. Get walking. Why is this important? Throughout the Middle Ages, do you know what they did with their refuse? In the street in front. Any wonder why the bubonic plague took over? Long before they understood how germs and disease were spread, the Torah covered that for them. Okay, long before they understood that apart from just the nasty smell, that this was going to make your entire community bad, just unhealthy. God's like, I got you covered. There's a reason the Jewish communities did not suffer the same plagues as everybody else. This was a large reason for it. We did not dump our excrement and refuse right in front of our houses. One of my favorite stories about Maimonides was that he went into a largely Karaite community, and that's an inside joke. He went into a largely Karaite community that was suffering from massive amounts of disease, and it was horrible because they didn't keep the law in the same way. They didn't keep most of the cleanliness laws, and he went against the culture, and he trained the women in the ways of Torah because the men wouldn't listen. So he trained the women. And the women, once they understood the cleanliness laws, they cleaned up everything and the disease was stopped. And the men went, hey, why does my soup not taste like crap anymore? Because your wife got rid of it. This is important. You shall not bring the hire of a prostitute or the price of a dog into the house of Yahweh your Elohim for any vow, even though both of these are an abomination to Yahweh, or even both of these are. There's an alternate translation that says you are not to bring the earnings of a female or male prostitute in the house of Yahweh your Elohim. This is a difference in translations because the word kelev can be dog or male prostitute. It can be both. So this is one of those situations or occasions when either translation could be correct. We're going to go with the male-female prostitution translation, and the meaning is pretty clear. A prostitute cannot tithe on the money they earn for their illicit activities. Okay, this is important. This would go for a pimp or anyone else that earns money through the sex trade, pornographers, everything else. This is an important thing because when you tithe on something, you legitimize it. Okay? The mafia. I've never been in the mafia. I'm not even sure. I mean, I've known Italians and everyone claims to be related to mafiosos. I don't know if that's true or not. But the mafia has been able to tithe to the Catholic Church. And in that way, the Catholic Church is kind of given a nod and a wink to the mafia. I've never been involved in that, but, you know, I watched The Godfather.
Yep.
On the other end, though, if you can come in and dedicate to the Lord the money you got from being a prostitute, a stripper, or whatever, and the church takes it, or the synagogue takes it, it's kind of legitimizing, isn't it? At the very least, you get to say, yeah, they tell me I'm sinning, but they never fail to cash the check. This is showing that not everything is actually acceptable. God has standards. You may not bring the earnings of a female or male prostitute into the house of God to pay any vow because the Lord your God detests them both. This is showing that just because you want to dedicate something to God doesn't necessarily make it acceptable. God has standards. He's not the dude sitting underneath the overpass with his hands out. He deserves the best. There are standards. Deuteronomy 23:19, you shall not lend an interest to your brother. Interest of silver, interest of food, interest of anything loaned at interest. To a stranger, a foreigner, you may lend at interest. But you shall not lend an interest to your brother, so that Yahweh your Elohim may bless you in all that you put your hand to in the land you're going to possess. In biblical times, interest charges were well known. In fact, Babylonian law permitted 20% interest on money, 33 1/3% on grain. This law is broken into two categories, local and foreign. The Torah treats loans to those in our community not as a commercial enterprise, but as a social responsibility. This is important. Some loans are extended for charitable purposes. One should not profit from charity. Somebody comes up to you and says, hey man, I got to pay my mortgage. I'm really in a rough way. Can you help me? I just need to make my car payment. I just need to make my mortgage payment. Profiting from that, I think we can all agree, is a bad thing. On the other hand, helping your neighbor start a business, why wouldn't we allow that? Or why wouldn't we allow interest on that? Because when your neighbor starts a business, that prosperity bleeds over into the community. He is now employing people in the community, raising the standards. When we help our community, we all do better. When the least of our population is at least here, we're all up here. Does that make sense? Okay? You're going to derive good. Even if you loan to help them get started, they're going to pay local taxes into the coffers. They're going to now be buying goods in order to do their thing. They're going to be selling them, helping everyone else. Your wife she found out about Tupperware, and gosh, isn't the world a better place? So God sees that these local loans are a social responsibility. And there are communities that live this way, and you see that the entire community is better. Loans to a foreigner are subject to interest. Why? Because the foreigner has presumably traveled to your area for the express purpose of doing business and trade. They are not part of your community. They have come in with their goods, And when they leave, they're going to take their prosperity with them back to their community. So a foreigner typically is just there to do business. So if they come up to you and they go, hey, Moshe, yes, I have got an opportunity. Shlomo says that he will sell me all of this grain for the cut rate price of this. The problem is I don't quite have enough. If you loan me the extra money I need, when I offset that, when I sell it, I will give you not only back, but I'll give you some interest. That is not a problem. This is purely a business transaction. When he leaves, he's going to take his profits and whatever prosperity with it back to his community where presumably he supports his family and everything else. That's why these two laws exist. If we kept this, that in our community we looked out for each other, helped everybody out, and helped everybody start their businesses and keep them going, we would notice that the entire community prospers. Okay? And if some dude comes in from Tallahassee and says, hey, I got an opportunity to flip this Corvette over here, I don't really have all the money, will you help me out? Then by all means. All right, make sense? Okay. Deuteronomy 23:21. When you make a vow to Yahweh your Elohim, you are not to delay in fulfilling it, for Yahweh your Elohim will certainly demand it of you, and your failure to do so will be your sin. If you choose not to make a vow at all, that will not be a sin for you. But if a vow passes your lips, you must take care to perform it in according to what you voluntarily vowed to Yahweh your Elohim, what you promised in words spoken aloud. I don't think any of us need to see why this exists. Later, yes, be a simple yes or no, be a simple no. When someone promises to do something for us, gives us a vow, or when we give a vow, that other person relies on that. Very often in starting a business venture, starting a family, there are many decisions we make based on the agreements that we have with others. And when those agreements are broken, it is harmful. Deuteronomy 24:6, no one may take a mill or even an upper millstone as collateral for a loan, because that would be taking as collateral the debtor's means of sustenance. This is important. You cannot loan money and then take away their ability to repay you. If your local mechanic goes, hey man, I'm really in a bad way, I need to borrow some money, and you go, not a problem, hand over your tools. So this makes perfect sense. And then finally, the last two work together. They go together as a guide to how we should conduct ourselves in business. Deuteronomy 24:14. You are not to exploit a hired worker who is poor and needy, whether one of your brothers or a foreigner living in your land, in your town. You are to pay him his wages the day he earns them before sunset, for he is poor and looks forward to being paid. Otherwise, he will cry out against you to God, and it will be your sin. This is how we look out for those who work for us. We should treat anyone who does work for us fairly. If they do a job, they should get compensated for that job in a timely manner. Do not ever make someone chase you down for the money that they have earned. I have been an employer for 2 decades, and nobody has ever had to chase me down for their paycheck. And I have never given anyone a paycheck and told them to wait until tomorrow or the day after to cash it. If I do not have the money to pay you, then I will kindly ask you to not show up to work. And if I do that, you are more than free to go find a job with somebody who can manage their cash. On the other side, Deuteronomy 25:13, you are not to have in your pack 2 sets of weights, one heavy, the other light. You are not to have in your house 2 sets of measures, one big, the other small. You are to have a correct and fair weight, and you are to have a correct and fair measure, so that you will prolong your days in the land Yahweh your Elohim is giving you. For all who do such things, all who deal dishonestly, are detestable to Yahweh your Elohim. Do I need to explain to anybody why being a cheat in business is not the way to build trust in a community? Do I ask you, and trust me, we've only scratched the surface, of all of these, which ones did you say, you know what? I think we should let the goy out of that. I don't mind being cheated in business. You know, I'd love to have a couple goy around so I don't have to pay them. The reality is that once you read this law, you have to come to the realization it's either good or it's not. And if it's good, then it should be done. If it's not, then we should ignore it. Does that make sense? Does a two-tiered justice system make sense? No. That's a problem. Holding either God's standard matters or it doesn't. And if you're on the side, if you're one of the goy who sits back and whistles Dixie because you get to go to the synagogue, act like a Jew, walk out and go get pepperoni on your pizza, I don't think you've looked at what you're missing out on, what you're denying. The Torah should be a sign upon your hand and frontlets between your eyes. It should guide you through this life by showing you how God wants us to interact not only with Him but with each other. This is the only place where God Himself said, this is my definition of what is good and right and decent. And if you do it, you will be righteous, good, right, and decent. And if you don't, then you are evil. You are wicked. Nowhere else in the Bible does it lay down God's standards. I'm proud to say that I consult the Torah in every aspect of my life. I give out quotes to people and deal with people. And I make sure that I do it in a fair and equitable way. I employ people, and I make sure that I handle it in a fair and equitable way. Whenever I put on my clothes, I ask my wife, do I look a little fat in this? No. In a fair and equitable way.
Oh, no, I don't think that question's fair.
But you get my point. What's right is right. It's not right for this person and not that person. We're not talking about those kinds. We're not talking about your truth. We are talking about God's truth. Now, what does God think about His law? How does God view His Torah? Deuteronomy 30:11. This is how God feels about His covenant, His law, His Torah, the Constitution that He laid down. And this is going out to the Gentiles who don't even go to a Messianic congregation, who want to come up and tell me, oh, Jesus nailed that to the cross. He did away with it. The only reason something is done away with is because it is wrong. It has been found to be inferior. It is something that needs to be replaced for the good of the people. The only reason Jesus would have come down to do away with it is because God the Father made a mistake, and He's hoping that you didn't notice the entire first 2/3 of the Bible, which you didn't because you only read the New Testament. But don't get me started on this. This is not the hill I'm going to die on today. But we have to ask ourselves, how does God feel about this? It says, now, what I am commanding you today is not too difficult for you. Wait a second. Isn't that exactly what I hear all the time, that it was too difficult? That Jesus did away with it because it was too difficult? Oh, nobody could do it. It's too difficult. What I'm commanding you today is not too difficult. It's too difficult. Really? Because the author tells you it's not. Has anyone here ever raised children? Oh, yeah. I told you to mow the lawn, but Dad, it was too difficult for me. That's their justification for why you're taking out the trash. How many times have we given up, or we've seen someone give up and not do what was required, and their justification was, it was too hard? I feel the same way about speed limits. But you know what? I've never gotten out of a ticket because I told the cops it was just too difficult to stay under 100. My car goes 100 miles an hour in third gear, officer. I was in sixth. What was I supposed to do? Yeah. If you ever find the judge that takes that argument, give me his phone number. What I'm commanding you today is not too difficult for you or beyond your reach. It is not up in heaven, so that you have to ask, who will ascend into heaven to get it and proclaim it to us that we may obey it? Nor is it beyond the sea, so that you will have to ask, who will cross the sea to get it and proclaim it to us so that we may obey it? No! The word is very near you. It is in your mouth. It is in your heart, so that you may obey it. I didn't make it too difficult. It's right there. It's right here. See, I set before you today life and prosperity, and death and destruction. Did you hear that? That's what he considers this. Life and prosperity, death and destruction. You can't get more far apart than that. That's how he sees his law. For I command you today to love the Lord your God, to walk in obedience to him, and to keep his commands, decrees, and laws. Then you will live and increase, and the Lord your God will bless you in the land you're running to possess. All I ever wanted was to be blessed by God. And thank goodness he wrote down how to do it. And I did it. And I'm blessed. Me has a beautiful wife, 2 beautiful daughters. They've never been hungry a day in their life. I am blessed because I did this, which is precisely what he told me to do. And you're going to tell them that they shouldn't do this. That's mean. Are you trying to deny them the blessing? I get it. You want to have the only Mercedes in the parking lot, but do you have to make everyone else drive a Pinto? I'm going to keep it together.
It's your call.
But if your heart turns away and you are not obedient, and if you are drawn away to bow down to other gods and worship them, I declare to you this day that you will certainly be destroyed. I've always avoided that part. You will not live long in the land you are crossing the Jordan to enter and possess. This day I call on heaven and earth to witness against you. Nudge, nudge, nod, nod, wink, wink. These are the 2 witnesses. That I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life so that you and your children may live. From this we can conclude that God is proud of his law and expects it to be kept. Do you disagree with me? Be honest. Don't just be a bobblehead. Now's the time. Call me out. Rabbi, you're an idiot. Heard everything you said. What a fool.
I think what they bring against us is our, motive for doing things. If our motive is, oh, God asked for this obedience as a present, why wouldn't I want to give him what he asked for? But if I'm doing it so I can look better than you, then there's a problem.
I would say that anyone's faith should be a relationship between them and the Father.
Right.
Okay. Anytime you're doing anything to impress your neighbor, that can be called into question.
They think that's what we're doing.
It's like don't get to the homes and brag about it.
Yeah. But the reality is this. Hear me out. Even if you are doing the right thing for the wrong motivations, wouldn't that still spill over into blessings for your neighborhood?
Yes.
Okay? Here's the thing. I protected my neighborhood because I want to look good. But your neighbors go, wow, he protected the neighborhood. You can make the argument that a person's motivation needs to be pure, but that really is more of an internal struggle. When you and God are locked in the room together, and you say, I did the right thing, and he goes, yeah, but for the wrong reason, that's a conversation between you and the Father. You could make the argument that if everybody in this country did the right thing, even if they didn't believe in God, the country would still be a better place.
Yeah.
Okay? I told you, I once had a business associate that was a complete atheist. But he sent his son to a Christian school because he had read the Bible, read about Jesus, thought he was a pretty good guy, and thought that if his son acted that way, he'd be a really good, upstanding member of society. And I said, so you're raising your son on biblical principles and you don't believe in God? He goes, yeah. Is that wrong? And I said, I don't think it's wrong. We ended up having a lot of really interesting conversations, and I got down to this close. But I couldn't argue with his logic. His son was raised religiously by an agnostic. He wasn't an atheist, he was agnostic, and he would be the first to tell you, I just don't know. But it was an honest I don't know. From this, we can conclude that God is proud of his law and expects it to be kept. But since the times of Paul, there have been teachings that Gentiles don't need to keep the Torah. And right now, I'm actually talking to the Gentiles. Okay? On the more Orthodox Jewish side, I get it. Every time we let them off the leash, they bark at people and growl and clean themselves, and I get it. But right now I'm talking to the Gentiles. I'm talking to the people that predominantly come after me. The ones that predominantly come after me are the ones that don't want to keep the Torah. They just want to be able to wear the tallit on the weekends. You know, let's call them the LARPers. They're LARPing at being a Jew. They're taught that they only need to keep the Noahide laws and the requirements established in the Jerusalem Council. That there are two laws. Jews get to keep the Torah, and that the Noahide laws and the Jerusalem Council, that's what everybody else gets to keep. So we're going to take a real quick look at those. The Noahide laws. Did you ever ask the question, where did the Noahide laws come from? Okay? If you haven't, maybe you should. There's an article called, What are the Noahide laws and are they biblical? And we'll read from that real quick. And it says, the Noahide laws are 7 ancient laws that many people view as the basis of civilized society. They govern morality and represent the bare minimum of what God expects of humanity. That's important, by the way. They are called Noahide laws because they are thought to have been given in their fullness to Noah after the flood. They are also called Noahide laws, the 7 laws of Noah, or the 7 commands for Noah's son. In Hebrew, they are Shiva Mitzvot B'nai Noach. The idea of a formal set of laws given to all of humanity, all of the sons of Noah, comes from the Talmud and is according to Jewish tradition. The first 6 of the 7 laws were given to Adam in the Garden of Eden. The 6th law, to not eat live animals, was extraneous since Adam did not eat animals. When God established his covenant with Noah, he added the 7th, and the 6th became applicable. Each of the 7 Noahide laws is seen as a summary of more detailed laws, about 211 total. According to Judaism, a Gentile does not have to follow the Mosaic law. Does that sound familiar to anybody else, or just me? According to Judaism, a Gentile does not have to follow the Mosaic law. However, all Gentiles are obliged to follow the Noahide laws. The laws given to Noah's children are universally binding. A non-Jew who abides by the Noahide laws is considered to be a righteous Gentile, according to Judaism, and will earn a reward in the afterlife if his obedience is coupled with a knowledge of the laws, a knowledge that the laws come from God. So you follow the Noahide laws, you acknowledge they came from God, congratulations, you get the afterlife. A righteous Gentile might also be called a Hasidic Gentile, or simply a Noahide. This is from Chabad itself. The 7 Noahide laws are rules that all of us must keep regardless of who we are or from where we came. Without these 7 things, it would be impossible for humanity to live together in harmony. This is what Chabad puts out for all of the Goyim. Chabad is not a messianic organization. So Chabad is not saying what the Gentile members of a messianic congregation should do. What Chabad is doing is saying, Oy, was surrounded by Goy. Wouldn't it be great if the Goy kept the Noachide laws? Oy, let's do it. These are the laws. Number 1, do not profane God's oneness in any way. Acknowledge that there is a single God who cares about what we are doing and desires that we take care of his world. 2, do not curse your Creator. No matter how angry you may be, do not take it out verbally against your Creator. There's one story in the Bible about a dude who back-talked God. His name was Job, and you see how God handled that. 3, do not murder. The value of a human life cannot be measured. To destroy a single human life is to destroy the entire world, because for that person, the world has ceased to exist. It follows that by sustaining a single human life, you are sustaining an entire universe. 4, do not eat a limb of a still living animal. Yes, that's a thing. And hold on. Imagine, if you will, that you have 2 goats, and you really want to eat goat tonight. And you say to yourself, well, what if I don't eat the whole goat? What parts of the goat does the goat need to keep in order to stay a goat? Well, he doesn't need legs. If I cut off a goat's leg, the goat can still be a goat, and I can still have a goat, but I get to eat goat. So I get to eat goat and have goat. That sounds great. But that's cruel. That is cruel. Respect of life. Respect the life of God's creatures. As intelligent beings, we have a duty to not cause undue pain to other creatures. I think we would all agree. Either slaughter the animal in as kind and humane a way as possible, or don't. Number 5, do not steal. Whatever benefits you receive in this world, make sure that none of them are at unfair expense to someone else. Number 6, harness and channel the human libido. Oy, could we write books on that subject? Incest, adultery, and homosexual relations are forbidden. The family unit is the foundation of human society. Sexuality is the fountain of life. And, where's my wife? So nothing is more holy than the sexual act. Yeah, I knew you weren't going to hear that. Kabad's word, not mine. So too, when abused, nothing can be more debasing and destructive to the human being. And we've seen this at play. In a good, healthy marital relationship, sex can bring you closer. It can bring a level of intimacy, and it can raise you up, and it can further your family. But we've all seen people that sex debases them, tears them down. They end up with a lot of one-night stands. They end up in a lot of situations, especially women, that don't fill them up. It's a temporary thing, but it leaves them feeling empty. You know, we've all seen those people that they go out every weekend and they go to a bar and they hook up and they temporarily feel better about themselves, but then they feel cheated, don't they? I think we can all agree with that one. 7, establish courts of law and ensure justice in our world. With every small act of justice, we are restoring harmony to our world, synchronizing it with the natural order. That is why we must keep the laws established by our government for the country's stability and harmony. First of all, I don't disagree with any of these, and I don't think any of you do you? No. Adding the Noachide laws on top of the Torah, first of all, I think you would find they're already covered here, maybe not in quite the specific way, but I think we can all agree this is a good thing. This is not a one or the other. Kabbalah goes on to say, nobody needs to convert or join a particular church or temple to keep these principles and laws. Accurate statement. An atheist or agnostic can keep these laws, and by doing so, they would be acting more righteously. Would they not be? But it is important to keep them because this is what the Supreme God wants of every one of us, and not only because they are wise and good laws. Anyone who keeps these basic rules for that reason, regardless of race, nationality, or culture, is considered a righteous person and granted eternal life upon leaving this world. This is Kabbalah, who basically says, Goy, I'll tell you what, this is the baseline. If you can keep the 7 Noachide laws, then you are going to be granted eternal life. Now, this is from an organization that keeps not only all of the Mosaic law found in the Torah, but all of the Talmudic law of Rabbinic Judaism. And they have set the bar very low for the Goyim. They're literally like, look, I get it. We're not even going to get started on this. We're certainly not going to get started on that. But if you can just not eat part of an animal while it's still living, we're going to call that a win for you. Okay? Does that sound, I mean, as charitable as that is to the Goyim, does that sound like they have any faith at all in the Goyim? No. Does that sound like they are literally like, dude, just phone it in, okay? Just phone it in. Yes. This is not Chabad's idea of a righteous person. This is Chabad's idea of not a detestable person. If you can just keep from being detestable, I promise God will reward you.
That's not even a Christian.
But this is Talmudic, not biblical. Okay? So let me tell you this right now. All of this is Talmudic. Read the Bible through. You will never be able to go to your Bible index and go, 7 Noahide laws. There it is. Read the whole section about Noah. Noah doesn't mention it. Even afterwards, as he's performing a sacrifice, he doesn't mention it. These laws are alluded to in certain areas, but they are entirely Talmudic. They have come entirely out of Judaism. So is there a biblical precedent for Gentiles keeping a section of law that is not all of the Torah? The Jerusalem Council. This is the second one that's going to get thrown up in your face. Acts 15, verses 1 through 21. Certain people came down from Judea to Antioch and were teaching the believers, these are Judean Jews, who came down to the Gentile believers and taught, unless you are circumcised according to the custom taught by Moshe, you cannot be saved. These were Judean believers, and understand they were not Orthodox Jews, they were Messianic believers. But they were Judean, and they came down and said, You claim to be a believer in God. Yes, I am. I'm a brand new convert. Drop your pants. Excuse me, I didn't know we were Catholic. Sorry.
Dad.
Lord. Oh, Lord. Anyway.
We're gonna tell Mom about that.
No, we're not. Unless you are circumcised, according to the customs taught by Moses, you cannot be saved. This is, you must be circumcised before you get to be anything. The reality is this, if you are a Gentile and you still have your foreskin, and the first thing you have to do is cut the end of it off with a sharp implement, that's a pretty high bar to come back next week, don't you think? Seriously, think of it today. Imagine if most men weren't circumcised. And they come in, and they're sitting here, and they're dipping their toe in Torah and the Messianic movement. They're just kind of starting to figure it out. And some well-meaning person walks up and immediately says, Are you circumcised? No! Hold on a second here. Wait. Meet me in the back. What's the first thing that you would do? Run! Absolutely you would run. I would run. Not the way to handle a person brand new to the faith. I think we can all agree with that. This brought Paul and Barnabas into sharp dispute and debate with these Judeans. Stop. No. Yeah. All right. So Paul and Barnabas were appointed, along with some other believers, to go up to Jerusalem to see the apostles and the elders about this question. This is a thing. And they're like, you know what? I'm going to go to Jerusalem. We're going to ask the experts. The church sent them on their way, and as they traveled through Phoenicia, by the way, I really do apologize to all the Catholics. I really didn't mean it. I didn't have Tourette syndrome.
Is that a disclaimer? Should I put that in the YouTube?
Please put that in the YouTube. I do have Tourette's, and I didn't mean it.
Fine print. By the way, these medications are me.
And you wonder why I apologize to God every week that He is in the position to need me to teach. Lord, if only you had your pick of the litter and you could tell me to just go away. You don't have to get off the bus, Norm. Just go sit in the back and don't say anything.
You have Tourette's. You can't say nothing.
Anyway, all right. So the church sent them on their way, and they traveled through Phoenicia and Samaria. They told how the Gentiles had been converted. This news made all the believers very glad. When they came to Jerusalem, they were welcomed by the church and the apostles and elders. This would have been the assembly, the ecclesia, to whom they reported everything God had done through them. Then some of the believers who belonged to the party of the Pharisees stood up and said, the Gentiles must be circumcised and required to keep the law of Moses. Remember that. The apostles and elders met to consider this question. After much discussion, Peter got up and addressed them. Brothers, you know that some time ago God made a choice among you that the Gentiles might hear from my lips the message of the gospel and believe. God, who knows the heart, showed that he accepted them by giving the Holy Spirit to them, just as he did to us. He did not discriminate between us and them, for he purified their hearts by faith. Now then, why do you try to test God by putting on the necks of the Gentiles a yoke that neither we nor our ancestors have been able to bear? From this, it seems to indicate that the Torah is too great a burden to bear. It seems to justify this idea that putting the Gentile converts under it would be cruel and unusual. But I ask you, is this how God sees his law? We read above, it's not too hard for you. It's near you. You can do it. So why in the world does Peter say this? Does Peter not believe God himself? What Torah is he talking about? Well, to whom is Peter talking? The believers who belong to the party of the Pharisees. There were Messianic believers who were part of the sect of the Pharisees. Paul himself was a Pharisee, son of a Pharisee. Pharisaic Judaism was Judaism in that era. 1st century Judea, the land that both Yeshua and Paul lived in, was run and ruled by the Pharisaic understanding and interpretation of God's will and law. Does that make sense? I know it's a lot of words. If you were a Jew in Judea, the Pharisees told you what Judaism was. It was not you reading the scrolls yourself. It was not you adhering to the Mosaic law. It was them telling you how you had to live. There was only one group in Judea that did not come under Pharisaic rule, and that was the Sadducees. They were allowed not to. They only kept the Mosaic law. They did not keep the Talmud or the tradition of the fathers, the oral Torah. They included the priesthood. You must understand, these two groups butted heads. So this law that Peter's talking about is not just the fact that the battery died.
Not the battery, the wire.
All right, so this Torah, and that's dead too.
Go ahead.
Yes? All right, we're back. The Torah that Peter's talking about is not God's Torah. The law that Peter's talking about is the law of the land, the law that he was raised with, the law that everyone else was raised with. This was Pharisaic Talmudic Judaism. That is the law he's talking about. If you go to an Orthodox community, or even a conservative community, they cannot tell the difference between rabbinic law and the Mosaic law, Torah law. If you say that you are Torah observant, they assume that you do not mix meat and dairy. And if you do mix meat and dairy and say, I'm Torah observant, they go, you can't be, you just mix meat and dairy. The idea that rabbinic law is separate from Torah law, they cannot be pulled apart. That is what Peter here is talking about. He's talking about the full weight of Pharisaic Judaism that ruled Judea. That is what he is saying that they themselves struggle under. Yes?
I just read something, and I don't know if you can tell me if it's true. They weren't talking about the Torah at all. They didn't want the Gentiles to come under the Roman persecution. You know, your crap about dropping their pants.
Mm-hmm.
People actually tried to cover up they'd been circumcised because they were paying additional taxes because of it, and that was the yoke.
That was part of it. In a place where you have communal bathhouses and everyone has a foreskin, if suddenly you don't have a foreskin, you will come under scrutiny. Okay, that is absolutely true. And you must understand that the Gentile converts were seen in much more of a negative light than the Jews themselves. Judaism was an ancient religion. In Rome, they respected an ancient religion. But remember that there had been a push, a Jewish push to convert Roman citizens, and that had met violent opposition. So anytime a Gentile seemed to be converting to Judaism, that was seen very, very negatively. So absolutely, that was part of it. And the circumcision was a very, you can't hide that. Okay? So yeah, the circumcision was one of the last things. Because it not only would have been physically painful, it would have subjected the person to public scrutiny and ridicule.
Taxes.
Okay? But you have to understand that the Judaism that ruled Judea was Pharisaic Judaism, not necessarily Torah law. He goes, no! We believe it is through the grace of our Lord Yeshua HaMashiach that we are saved, just as they are. The whole assembly became silent as they listened to Barnabas and Paul, telling them about the signs and wonders God had done among the Gentiles through them. When they finished, James spoke up. Brothers, he said, listen to me. Simon has described to us how God first intervened to choose a people for his name from among the Gentiles. The words of the prophets are in agreement with this, as it is written, after this I will return and rebuild David's fallen tent. Listen to this. Afterwards, I will return and rebuild David's fallen tent. Its ruins I will rebuild. I will restore it, that the rest of mankind may seek the Lord. This is talking about, alluding to the prophecy that the Lo-Ami, not a people, will come back and be sons and daughters of the living God. This is a restoration of Israel. David's kingdom was the northern and southern combined. This is a restoration of Israel. This is alluding to the lost 10 tribes coming back. I'm not going to go into that, but that is what this is alluding to. Okay. Even all the Gentiles who bear my name, says the Lord, who does these things, things known from long ago. It is my judgment, therefore, that we should not make it difficult for the Gentiles who are turning to God. Instead, we should write to them, telling them to, listen to this, abstain from food polluted by idols, from sexual immorality, from the meat of strangled animals, and from blood. For the law of Moses has been preached in every city from the earliest times and is read in the synagogues on every Shabbat. So that is what they said. They said, you know what? These brand new Gentiles, fresh to the faith, coming out of paganism, what we need to do is tell them to abstain from food polluted by idols, from sexual immorality, from the meat of strangled animals, and from eating blood. And then it goes on to say that they wrote that up, sent them off, and it was read. Now this does seem to support the idea that Gentiles are not to be held to the full Torah. On the surface, you would look at that and go, okay, all right. But is that what God wants? Exodus 12:48. A foreigner residing among you who wants to celebrate the Lord's Passover must have all the males in his household circumcised. Then he may take part
like one born in the land. No uncircumcised male may eat it. The same law applies both to the native born and the foreigner residing among you. This sets the precedent that a foreigner must keep the law, and if they do, they can partake of the Passover. Leviticus 24:17. Anyone who takes the life of a human being is to be put to death. Anyone who takes the life of someone's animal must make restitution, life for life. Anyone who injures their neighbor is to be injured in the same manner. Fracture for fracture, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. The one who has inflicted the injury must suffer the same injury. Whoever kills an animal must make restitution, but whoever kills a human being is to be put to death. You are to have the same law for the foreigner as the native born. I am the Lord your God. From this, we see that the foreigner, the Gentile, is to be held to the same standard as the native born. What the Jerusalem Council was doing was establishing the baseline requirements for a new convert that has no education in the Torah. This is the baseline. These are people that have no education. They don't know the Torah. They don't know anything about it. This is their first day in. They feel called out. They want to be part. This is the bare minimum. Okay, look, just start with this. As well as protecting these brand new believers from the full requirements of the Pharisees. Look, guys, I get it. Stay. Leave them alone. If they do this, this is a good starting place. But this was intended to be the first of many steps, the beginning of their education into the covenant, not the end goal. That's important. By refusing the Gentiles the full blessing of Yahweh's Torah and teaching them that it's not for them, we are in fact denying Yeshua's teaching. This was intended to be the first part, because listen to this. It says, instead, we should write to tell them to abstain from food polluted by idols, from sexual immorality, from the meat of strangled animals, and from blood. For the law of Moses has been preached in every city from the earliest times and is read in the synagogue on every Shabbat. That sentence makes no sense if all the goyim are ever going to be held to is this bare standard. But what this shows is this is the bare minimum, knowing that the entire law of Moses is being preached in every city. Once these converts take upon themselves this bare minimum and start their journey, they will be given the opportunity to learn the rest of the law. That is an important aspect for all of us to remember. When somebody walks in, this is the first time they've ever left a church. They're already worried about what they're going to run into. We're using funny words. We're saying funny things. We're praying in a language they don't understand. Meeting them at the door with the full weight and impact of this law is just going to send them skittering. I am all about teaching meat, but there is a legitimate need for milk. What I normally tell people, because they'll ask me, oh my God, it's my second week, do I need to keep all that? And I say, you're at the beginning of a journey. Your job now is to read and become educated. And when you have, then you will know if God convicts you to keep it or not. As you learn and grow, as you better understand what your Father asks of you, then you will be in a better position to determine if you feel led to do that. And I have watched many people, 3 weeks, 3 months, a year and a half, 2 years into their walk, suddenly come up to me one day and they go, Rabbi, I stopped eating pork. And my answer has never been about darn time. If we do not give people room to grow into this faith, if they have to literally take the sign of the covenant on day one, we have become a block to their growth. Okay? They don't know anything about our faith. They don't know anything about God's Torah. All they know is they feel a desire to come to recognize the Jewishness of Jesus. And they come here to try to get that. And they're not ready. And that's not a sin. In that situation, telling them, okay, not a problem. Is there anything I need to do today? Should I call you Rabbi? You can call me Norm. Okay. Well, you know what? You should probably not eat food polluted by idols. What's an idol? From sexual immorality, got it. And from meat strangled. What? Don't strangle your meat, just whatever. But the point is, you see that this is a baby step. This is something that really made a lot of sense in these pagan lands, where most meat had been sacrificed to idols before it was put out in the marketplace. So just don't eat that meat. You know, for lack of a better term, follow the kosher laws instead of, you know, causing the animal distress.
What about halal meat today?
Oy. Oy, oy. Okay.
You have to be careful.
You have to be very, very careful. If you're trying to eat gummy bears and they claim that they're halal, okay, then you know that the gelatin is not made from pork. You can probably eat the gummy bears. The problem with halal meat is that halal meat is blessed by an imam, technically sacrificed to Allah. Now you have to come to a decision as to whether or not Allah is actually, in fact, the Judean God, Yahweh. And there are arguments about that. The problem with eating halal is that you are putting your faith in the fact that it is dedicated to the God that you yourself believe is going by a different name. Modern interpretation is that that is in fact the case, but if you go back to writings 100, 150, 200 years ago, it was pretty well understood that Allah was actually not the Judeo-Christian God, that Allah was in fact the chief deity of the Meccan religion. That when Muhammad. That when Muhammad took over and conquered Mecca, that the obelisk there that everybody goes around actually had the entire pantheon of their gods. It was a polytheistic religion, but that Allah was the chief deity of the Meccan religion. That what Muhammad did was kick out all of the minor gods, left the one God, and said, that's now our God, we're monotheistic. In that way of thinking, it would be no different than going into Greece, kicking out every god apart from Zeus and saying we're now a monotheistic religion and Zeus is our God. Having one supreme deity does not make that deity necessarily Yahweh Elohim. Does that make sense? Okay. Modern interpretation is that they are in fact one God, and that the word Allah is just the Arabic word for Lord. And we could spend a great deal of time studying that. I will just say this. I don't mind eating a gummy bear that says halal, but I will not eat any meat that is halal. Does that make sense? Okay. But you could find someone that argued against me on this one. All right. So, the Jerusalem Council is not saying that Gentiles are never to come under Torah. The Jerusalem Council is saying that as a first step, we should give them this baby step, knowing that the law of Moses is being preached in every city and has been from the earliest times. It is read in all the synagogues on every Shabbat. The implication is that they will have time to learn it and grow. Okay. So, here's a quick one that's relevant. I'm building up to a point. Do you think so? Yeah.
It
All right,
wasn't written
fine.
in a book then.
It was written in, okay.
It wasn't, you couldn't, if you were a Gentile wanting to join, you had to go to the synagogue to learn. It was all spoken.
You would have had to have been. Now, the problem is, were the synagogues necessarily opening up their doors to all of the Gentile converts? That's an entirely different conversation.
Yes.
The ideal was that they would be able to go in and learn. The reality was that they were not necessarily accepted in. That's an entirely different thing. All right. By refusing Gentiles the full blessings of Yahweh's Torah, and now I am talking to you on the more orthodox side of the Messianic movement. by denying Gentiles the full blessings of Yahweh's Torah and teaching them that it's not for them, we are in fact denying Yeshua's teaching. Matthew chapter 5, verse 17. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I said, at that time they were asking, have you come to abolish the law? He goes, no, I'm not. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. For all of you Christians out there, fulfill does not mean do away with. It means to meet the obligations of, technically to show you how it's done. Okay, to show you that I in fact come under the covering. I'm not a hypocrite. I'm not teaching you to do something I don't do. I have come and I have lived the Torah. That's what it means, not do away with. For I truly tell you, this is Yeshua talking, until heaven and earth disappear, you remember earlier we talked about heaven and earth, the two witnesses, until heaven and earth disappear, not the smallest letter, not the least stroke of the pen, will by any means disappear from the law until everything is accomplished. He is confirming the law, saying, heaven and earth, these same witnesses that were called back in Deuteronomy, until they are gone, the law stands strong and nothing will disappear until everything is accomplished, meaning until the end of time or this age. Therefore, anyone who sets aside one of the least of these commands and teaches others accordingly will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. Wow! Anyone who sets aside the least of these commandments and teaches others to do that. Anyone who teaches anyone to not keep these laws will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever practices and teaches these commandments will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. Ooh. We must remember that keeping the Torah as given by our Creator is a blessing. It enables us to be good citizens. Even if you don't believe in the Messiah, the Torah is a beautiful and simple way to care for each other. We also must remember that we are responsible for what we teach. And I'm talking to you teachers. We are responsible for what we teach. There are organizations and teachers in existence today who adamantly oppose Gentiles keeping the Torah. They're teaching they don't have to do it. But have you forgotten the words of our Mashiach? Anyone who encourages others not to keep the Torah is teaching in error. Sinning at worst. Teaching in error at best. You're teaching in error at best. If the best is that you're wrong and you're teaching them in error, you're sinning at worst. And those who sin because of this teaching, those sins will be attributed to you as your own sin.
But there's still, when I've always wondered that, but they're still going into the kingdom. They'll just be least. They're still.
Well, understand, they still keep the covenant. Okay? These teachers, they still keep the covenant. Now, as long as they themselves keep the law. If they deny the law themselves and everything, well, then God's going to judge them. But the reality is that if you teach someone not to keep the Torah, then every time they sin, their sin will be accounted to you as your own. So for every Gentile that you said, hey, not a problem, go ahead and sin, you eat these things, and none of that law is for you. Whenever they do that, they're doing it because of your teaching. Then no matter how righteous you are in your walk, their sin is on your head. Now, that sin does not inherently mean that they will be denied the kingdom. You see, you must understand that this is not a heaven or hell situation, just a flip of the switch. This is not a every little thing sends you to hell. They are going to be held accountable for this. It may not keep them out of the kingdom, but it does mean that they will be considered least. Remember that Yeshua says that there will come a time when people will come up to him in the kingdom and say, hey, Lord, 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 I taught in your name, I did this, I did that. He says, get away from me, I never knew you. These are people that thought that they were teaching in his name. These are people that thought they had a relationship, and he says, get away from me, I never knew you. He does not necessarily say, get away from me, I send you to hell burning. But he does say, get away from me. It is possible to make it into the kingdom, but only by the skin of your teeth. Okay? That is being the least. And And unfortunately, for those of you who are teaching people that want to have a closer relationship to God, teaching them that this isn't for them and they shouldn't keep it. You're not only just saying you don't have to, you're actively telling them not to. I said, I don't care. You're not hurting my feelings. You're not affecting my congregation. You're not affecting my faith, my walk with God. Trust me, as I've already more than adequately proven today, I am going to be judged for my own actions. And I am fully aware of that. And I fully do apologize. But this has nothing to do with me. This has everything to do with you. You! You are guilty of this. Now I get it. We need standards. I get it. Anyone trying to stand up here, have a leadership role, needs to be educated. Last week I talked about that at length. I understand that without the proper education, they're embarrassing us. I get it. I'm with you. But we're not talking about them. I have an entirely different conversation for them. And trust me, I'm not nearly as nice to them as I am being to you. Let that sink in. I'm talking to you. You righteous men. You educated men. These men that I want to respect. You are going to be called least in the kingdom of heaven because you are teaching others not to keep God's command. You're letting them live in sin. And to you among the goyim who want to attack me, oh wow, you want me to come under the law? I don't want you to anything. I'll never even meet you. Hell, if I tripped over you in the street, I might say I'm sorry. I care about God. I care about His covenant. And if you claim to follow Him, you should too. I know not being held to this standard is awfully convenient, but faith is not about convenience. And by God, if you claim to love God at all, you should be willing to be inconvenienced to follow Him. There is one covenant given. Either follow it or don't. But if you don't want to follow His covenant, get the hell out of the synagogue. Quit faking everything. There's an entire panel of Baptist churches waiting for you. Do or do not. There is no try. And now I'm quoting Yoda.
I just got sense that. I'm 6 again. Oh no!
Please understand that I love all of you. I want to serve all of you. I have respect for all of you. And I have to believe in my heart of hearts that you're better men than I am. So just do what your God asks of you. Do what your Mashiach asks of you. Teach the goyim. Now, yes, watch them, because without the proper background and education, without centuries, generations of guidance, it is possible to misinterpret Torah to your own destruction. Absolutely. I'm not saying give them the keys of the kingdom and walk off. But do not deny them the blessings of God's covenant when He Himself has said there will be one law for the foreigner and the natural born. We must understand we do not own this law, and it is not ours. It is His. His. It is an honor that we get to study it and teach it at all, but we must never lay claim to it. And if He wants the foreigner to come under that covering as well, then even if I don't like those people, I must teach them. I must guide them. So, For anyone out there, I'm not here, I presume you all at least tolerate me, anyone out there who wants to say what a horrible person I am, I think I've adequately proven that yes, I could be better, and I really am working on it. If you think this is horrible, you should have met me 25, 30 years ago. You can criticize me all you like. I invite it. I should not be your paradigm of virtue and righteousness. I'm still a work in progress, but this is our obligation, and they all need to learn it. They all need to learn it. And if we teach them that they have no part in it, we will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. And this has nothing to do with the two sticks and the lo ami. I'm not even getting involved in that argument. This is genuinely about the goyim. And if you are a Gentile in a synagogue that tells you and teaches you you have no place in the covenant and you're not required to keep it, get out now. The Torah is our signpost and our guide. These are the instructions God has given us. These are His definitions of righteousness. He determines blessings and curses. Come under the covenant. He has invited you. He has asked you. He's begged you. He's told you it's not too difficult. He has told you it is near to you. If you are a teacher of the Torah and you have been denying the Gentiles, change. And if you are a Gentile believer that has not taken up the mantle of Torah, do it. And both groups, I promise you this, stop teaching others not to keep God's law. Yeshua himself, the tree-hugging hippie who came to make everybody happy, flat out said, anyone who does these things will be called least in the kingdom. Yes?
Just looking back at the original question before the Jerusalem Council, it was just simply, do you need to be circumcised to be saved?
That was the initial question.
That was it. I mean, they complicated so much, but that was the debate. Like, do you need to be circumcised to be saved? Like, that's what they were debating, not like.
And when you understand circumcision is the sign of the covenant, taking on the sign of the covenant before you understood the covenant is putting the cart before the horse. And when you understand socially, you can be ostracized for taking on the sign of the covenant. A lot of Paul's arguments is about a Gentile, and he specifically says a Gentile keeping the righteous requirements of the Torah without a circumcision. That is he more righteous than one that has a circumcision that does not keep the righteous requirements. So understand, Paul talks about the goyim keeping the righteous requirements of the Torah but not having a circumcision. This was a big, big debate and argument. But none of this is to excuse the goyim.
Couldn't one circumcise themselves in spirit? Following Torah, isn't that circumcision?
There is the circumcision of the heart versus circumcision of the flesh. That is absolutely a thing.
Which would be more.
But, hold on. At some point, you're still going to need to make the determination. This has been commanded in Torah, and specifically has been mentioned that you cannot partake of the Passover if you don't have it. Okay. Can you become circumcised of the heart so that you keep all the precepts of the Torah but you've not taken on the sign? Yes. But at some point, you're going to need to make the decision to go all in. Okay? You climbed in the pool. You dipped your toes, you dipped your feet, you dipped your legs, you dipped your torso, you dipped your arms, you got up to your neck. At some point, you're going to have to dunk your head underwater because you're not swimming, you're just floating. And let me tell you this. Floating and treading water is the surest way to drown. The only way to survive is to swim. Now that I have screamed, yelled, insulted an entire group, I'm very sorry. I really do humbly mean that. It came out, I didn't think about it. Now that I have screamed at everybody and probably ticked almost everybody in the world off, allow me to say, Shabbat Shalom. If you're not sure of how I feel about the topic,
You were sleeping.
Rabbi, earlier you said you wish God had a pick of the litter. He did have a pick of the litter, and I'm glad he did.
oh yeah. They like me. Thank you so much. I do appreciate that. Oh yeah. Yeah, trust me. It's like God pokes me just so that later on when we talk, he can go, ha! Joke's on you.
Well, and just as you were talking about earlier, you're extremely aware of the responsibility that comes with taking on the mantle of teaching. It is terrifying. You just explained the risk of if you teach incorrectly and lead others to sin. It's terrifying. It's a big deal. It should not be taken lightly. Being a rabbi is not a hobby. So
Scares the heck out of me.
oh yeah, exactly. So it's like if he is very real about it, he's very open. If you talk to him about it, he'll say, oh yeah, I'm scared every single week.
Yeah. Rabbi Davis tried for years to get me to take my ordination. There's a reason it took, I spent 6 years in rabbinic study.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because he wasn't ready to ordain me, it's that I would go, well, before we do that, let's go study this.
Yeah.
A lot of prayer before I accepted my ordination. And finally Rabbi Davis said, look man, you're either going to have to do this or not. A lot of prayer went into this. I did not want this job. I wanted to learn. I liked that part. But this scared the heck out of me.
He also even said that he did not want it, he didn't ask for it, he was told he was going to do it.
Yeah, it was.
He said he didn't like that either.
I've always said, why me?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like the worst person for the job.
You were the worst person
All right,
for the
can you
job.
go get your mom?
Okay.
Help! I'm talking and I can't shut up. Anyway, if you've made it this far, allow me to say I do have respect for anyone that is standing up representing God and teaching. The only thing I ask is that you do some serious soul searching, seriously look into your motivations, try to understand where they're coming from, and then seriously look at God's covenant, how he feels about it, and how Yeshua represents it. And I get it. We need to set standards for the Messianic community because we're all over the place. But do not deny the Goyim the chance to come under the cover. It is the ultimate blessing. That's all I'm asking. Just teach them and allow them to come under the cover. All right, Shabbat Shalom. Honey, I wish you were out here. I did it again.
Arlene and Ariel, you were supposed to.
We tried. We did great.
Technically, I think I insulted the entire Catholic religion.
In one line.
In one line.
Oh,
It happens.
so you were efficient. You were efficiently offensive.
It was one of the statements that was out of my mouth before. And literally, my brain is applying the brakes as I crossed the line, and then it was like, oh.
We need to have like a little ticker that goes at the bottom of the YouTube page.
Daniel.
That Rabbi has
Daniel,
Tourette's.
Oh no.
can we
We'll
edit
talk about
this? Yeah! Woo! Now they're going to wonder what I was talking about, but that's okay, love you wonder. Just take that part out, Daniel. Please, Daniel. Save me from myself.
But see, what if I don't want to?
How much is it worth to you, Rabbi? All right.
I got a shiny nickel.
All right, who's going to be my closer for this afternoon? All right, Mr. Yehoshua, if you could come forward, please.
Uh-huh. That happens.
Oh, careful.
And I almost spilled my coffee.
I've done that too.
All right.
I threw my Bible down hard enough to almost spill my coffee.
Several times. The
Several
scripture,
times.
just, geez,
It's
All
like-
right, for the closing, page 68, your Sidors, of course, the screen to, yeah, your left.
His hope Torah, Shem Moshe, Lifnei Bnei Yisrael, B'Yahweh, B'Yad Moshe. And this is the Torah that Moses placed before the children of Israel, at the command of Yahweh through Moses' hand.
All right, go ahead, honey, go ahead. All right, if we could have the young man come forward for his blessing.
Yesamek Elohim, Ephraim became Manasseh. May Yahweh make you a symbol of blessings in Ephraim and Manasseh.
And for the young ladies.
Oh, okay, all right, I guess we're gonna go.
Out, okay. No, eyes on the prize. Yesamek Elohim, Kesara, Rivka, Rachel, Leah. May Yahweh make you a symbol of blessings in Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah.
He's like not even paying attention.
Well, nobody slept through that.
I'm kidding, I'm in the classroom with the kids, like, oh, Rabbi's getting heated. Yahweh bless you and keep you. Yahweh make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May Yahweh lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. And the congregation responds, so may it be. Amen. And Shabbat go.
Are we done, Donnell?